Welcome to A Walk in My Stilettos, where our goal is to help you walk in your greatness. I'm your host, McKinney Smith. Hey, Faith Walkers. Thank you for taking the time to join us today on the A Walk in My Stilettos podcast. We have conversations with amazing women that are letting us take a step into their shoes. I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, but as a mindset coach, what interests me more is her backstory and her mindset on how she got there. So today's guest is about to bless us with her testimony, and since you're already here, you may as well subscribe. Today we have Jamisa McIvor-Bennett. She's a wife, a mother, and CEO of Rosebuds Investments. She's currently the deed holder to 18 properties, all in which she's purchased with no mortgages. She began as a novice investor and is mastering the industry at just 25 years old. And to date, she's helped 800 to 900 others purchase property. And Jamisa was recently welcomed into the Forbes The Culture and Community for underrepresented 30 under 30 list members. Please welcome to the show, Jamisa.
I was smiling so hard. It's like you know it. Then when you hear somebody say it, especially so elegantly, it's like, yes. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. You have such an amazing story, and I can't wait for the listeners to hear it. So I love to start the show with an icebreaker question, and
Okay.
I'm sure that you probably know what this question is because you listen to the show, but I believe that as women, we have all of these different titles that we go by, and a title that is very significant is our name because we are called it so many times a day, and our names have meaning. So people, when they're saying our name over and over in a day, they're basically declaring whatever that meaning is. So my first question to you, Jamisa, is do you know what your name means?
So my middle name means star.
Mm.
Jamisa, however, I'm going to be quite honest. I'm so glad my mom's not listening. No, my dad name was James, and my grandmom said Jamisa, like that was it. And then my mom
Mm-hmm.
along the way created all of these elaborate meanings for it, none of which I've ever authenticated.
Well, when
Yeah.
I Googled it, like you said, it's not a common name, and it's actually, your grandmother was correct. It shows online that it was derived from the name James. But
Mhm.
I was able to find one site that had a distinct meaning for Jamisa, and it says Jamisa means achiever and peacemaker.
Which I think is hilarious because if you ask anybody that knows me, I am an overachiever. Oh my goodness, and like an overachiever just because I like to instill peace. Like I have everybody hugging. I'm like, listen, I know what you said. I don't know how
See?
you felt, but let's just hug it out. So that's a real thing. I think it's really funny, but that's
Wow.
pretty
See,
accurate.
I think that's interesting. So people are
Yeah,
declaring it to you every time they say your name.
yeah,
You
and
are an
I'm
achiever and a
walking in that
peacemaker.
every single day.
So, Jamisa, let's start from the very, very, very beginning. What did you want to be when you were a little girl?
I wanted to be a choreographer when I was younger. I
Mm.
think that was the first thing that I remember taking an interest in was dancing. Like I
Mm.
still am really good at dancing. So like when the new dances come out, my kids are looking at me. Mind you, I'm really not that old, but they're young. So to them, I'm old, and they're like, "How does she know this?" I'm like, "Look, okay, I'm still pretty young. I still got it. I always liked
Mm.
dancing though. So I wanted to be a choreographer. It was a really good way to express myself. I've always been expressive. Like that was always my way out. So I like to dance.
Mhm.
And then getting into my like school age years, I was always a problem solver, right? So I wanted to be a
Mhm.
psychologist really early on. And at the time, it went from like counselor to helper because I was always a leader, but I was always the one. You know how you got the school projects and you got that one? I was that one. Like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we do it. I was a problem solver from maybe first or
Mm.
second grade. I remember when we would take certain tests, and I would get above average on like critical thinking and stuff like that.
So, seeing as you've always been a problem solver, share with us the story of how Rosebud's Investments began.
Funniest thing ever. It actually started by me not solving a problem. The irony is really crazy. So at the time, I was 19 years old, and my grandmother, which is my father's mom, she had asked me like, "Hey, if something was to happen to me, what would happen to my house?" And I was just like, "What? I don't know." Now, mind you, me and my grandma were really close. I was always her go-to just for things like, hey, I need to go grocery shopping. Could you drive me here? Could you drive me there? But I was always an ear for her, so she just liked to talk to me. I was good at listening and giving advice. So she trusted me, and she trusted my word and my advice, but that was one of the things I didn't have an answer to. So I told her, like, I'm not sure, what would happen to it. And then I get into the whole, nothing would have happened to you anyway, whatever. So she said, but if something was to happen to me, I would need you to look over the property for me. I'm like, okay, no problem. Like, that's easy for me. I could do that. She said, I would want you to be the landlord, rent it out, don't sell it. This is all we have, but I would want you to pretty much just keep it intact. And that was kind of the end of the conversation. And then over the next few weeks, she was like, okay, so what papers do we sign? Like, really pressing me for it. I'm like, I don't know. So now I'm Googling it, reaching out to different title companies and stuff. Because at the time, I had worked for this guy part-time because I was a cashier shop, right? And then I had worked for this guy. He did real estate. And I was his personal assistant and his administrative assistant. So I would, like, pick his kids up from school. They had, like, violin and Kumon, so I would do that for him, help him with homework. I just was, like, his extra set of hands. He was a family friend. But he was really prominent in real estate. And I literally didn't realize how much mine I actually paid him until later on, which we'll kind of get to that part later. But I had asked him, like, what do I do with this? And he was like, oh, fine, it's your grandmom. You would do $1 deed transfer. It would only be $1 because she's your grandmom. I'm like, okay. So I had used one of his resources, which was his title company that he used at the time. And they had drawn up this piece of paper that added me to the deed of my grandmother. Gave me a piece of paper. They told me to have it notarized. He walked me through that process. And I want to say in total, it might have took maybe an hour worth of work. I mean, getting the paper, printing it, signing it, notarizing it. And that pretty much was that. So she had lived in the property for about an additional year. All was well because, after you do something like that, to me, it was so minute because it was like I signing a piece of paper. It didn't really mean much to me at that time, and I was really young. But that following year, she died. But it may have been something that she knew because I'm telling you, she was serious about getting these papers signed. So like I said, just the next year she passed away. It became a reality for me at that time. Like, no, you're a homeowner. It's different. Now, it was debt free, which was cool. She didn't have any mortgages or anything like that, but you still have taxes. That's on a yearly basis. Where we lived at the time, my husband and I, because at the time we were boyfriend and girlfriend, but we were still together. We lived in a place in which we were paying rent, and we had one kid and was expecting our second. So the bright idea came like, ding, ding, we can come live here. This is good. And there's no rent, so we can leave where we are. We can go there. And you kind of walk in, and reality hits you like, oh my gosh, she still has plastic on her chair, right? So you don't want to be ungrateful, but you're used to living differently. Then you start to weigh your options. What do you do? Well, the easy thing to say is, okay, we're going to get it fixed. So that's what we sought to do. Outsourcing, finding different people who are considered contractors. And now, we're on Angie's list. We're reaching out to family, friends. It's pretty much anybody. So we would have people come in, and they were giving us quotes. But the quotes they were giving us were really expensive, like $30,000, $40,000. The structure is off. You need to break the walls down. Stuff like that. And I'm like, well, she was just living here. What was wrong with the structure when she was walking up and down the steps? I'm confused. Like, it was crazy. But one thing that was really constant was that people were saying, listen, it's a lot of work, but we can get this off your hands right now. I got $60,000 in cash, right? Like, walk me to my truck. I'll write the check right now. Like, that was constant amongst every single person, even down to the trash haulers. They weren't even contractors. They're like, yeah, let me get it. Like, that was really weird. But that was the first, like, aha moment for me. Like, okay, obviously this is something good here because a lot of people are asking for it. But I was still holding on to that don't sell it thing. Like, that's what she said. She said don't sell it. But she also said that she didn't want everybody arguing over it, and I was supposed to be the overseer, and they had to pay me rent, which was difficult because they didn't even pay me mine. I'm the youngest of, like, the whole tribe. So she has children, including my father. They're all about twice my senior, and everybody needed somewhere to live at the same time. It was crazy. It was like the moment she died, everybody was like, yep, I'm homeless. I was like, hello?
Oh, wow.
So then they started to argue with each other because there's no way. It's a single family home in South Philadelphia. It's a row home. It's pretty small. You're not all going to cohabit. Like, you can't all live there. My aunt has a family. My uncle does not. So he's like, I'll take the basement. And I'm like, but she doesn't want to raise her family with you in the basement. It just was weird. My dad was going in, changing the locks. And this was before everybody knew about the documentation that I had saying that this is my house because I didn't feel like that was the proper time. I'm still grieving.
Right.
Mind you, we were really close. And they started to go crazy almost instantly. So my grandma, she's Muslim, so you have 3 days to bury her.
Right.
By the third day, like locks were being changed, and it took my great grandmom to say, "Hey, you might want to tell them that they can't do that to your stuff." And I was like, "Just let them change it. It's okay." Like peacemaker. I was like, "Okay, this is not going to be good." What ended up happening was I made a really good friend. He was the guy who lived directly next door to my grandma. Now, something that I wasn't paying attention to is this guy, his whole being, who he was, his 3-piece suit, his 3-story house with a rooftop deck, his family. He was living next to my grandma, which was weird because not too long ago, a few years prior, there were no houses there. And then a few years prior to that, it was a bunch of abandoned houses. But my young mind and, just the lack of knowledge never led me to ask the question of why is he here? And then why does his house look exactly like the other houses? It's like uniform. Every block besides the ones like my grandmom's who were still standing looked exactly the same. But since we didn't live there, he would reach out to me when my family would do stuff like break in, because I still paid the utilities and all from when people came and did quotes, and we did and eventually get it cleaned out. My family would break in. They unplugged the deep freezer, let the food go bad, and it would smell horrible. Like, it just was crazy. Like, when I say money brings the best and worst out of people sometimes, they were going insane. I'm pregnant and hormonal. I don't have the time. So he would call me and say, "Hey, you want me to call the cops? Hey, you want me to make sure it's locked up?" Because he would scare him and say, "I'm going to call the police." But he would call me and let me know, "Hey, I got him away this time." He did a really good job of keeping an eye out on the property. So one day he said, "Listen, I see you coming back and forth. I see what you have to go through when you are here with them." He understood because I was always really civilized and I could have a conversation. My family, they just was a little different than I was. So he said, "Hey, look, I have a number to this guy. He's a realtor. He helped me purchase this house. You can tell him I sent you. I'm not telling you to do anything one way or another, but maybe he can give you some options." I called him. He sat me down. He's like, "So what is it you want to do?" I said, "I have no idea. Like, I wanted to fix it, but the number that they're giving me, we can't quite afford." And he was like, "You could sell it, right?" He's like, "We can list it at $120,000, which was crazy because everybody who was offering me money, they were like, "Yeah, $60,000, no more than that, because it needs a ton of work." But here I'm sitting in front of this professional. He's like 120. Now, I didn't know about comps and all of that stuff. So I was like, "Look, 120 right now, where do I sign?" He signed the paper. He walked me through that process. I signed the paper. We put it on the market. It sat there for maybe 6 days. It went into what we call a bidding war. The highest offer that we got was 152. And I didn't even give him much time. It was like after 7 days, I was like, 152,000. When do we close? Stroke the pen. It was good to go. I think I closed a few weeks after that because the title was clear. And I had $152,000 to my little name.
Wow. You talked about you didn't know anything about comparables. So what could that property have sold for?
The plot thickens. So what happened is after I closed, the realtor, I guess he was like panicking for me. He's like, I want you to sit down with this guy. He's a financial advisor. I sit down with this guy, which a couple of days after it, and he's like, "Yeah, so you should do a Roth IRA." I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "A Roth IRA, you just give it all to me. I'll hold it till you're 50. I'm like, "You want me to go back to work?" So he's like, "Yeah, you sit it there. If you touch it before then, you're penalized." I'm like, "So you telling me to go run up groceries and I got $152,000 check?" Like, okay, no. He's like, "But that's a lot of money." And I think it was a bit of like, this young girl with this baby, like, what is she going to do? And I think that I recall, I don't remember which one asked, but one of them said, "What are you going to do with all that money?" Because I respectfully declined, and I told him, like, "I'm going to buy houses." And I said it so as a matter of fact. It was funny because that's exactly what I did, but it was not that effortless as I said it. But I remember shrugging my shoulders like, "Duh, I'm going to buy houses." And once he saw that I was really serious about not giving his financial advisor friend my money, he's like, "Okay, I have another guy you might want to talk to. He's an investor." So that was my first time making the differentiation between real estate agent and real estate investor. And me and this guy, we just clicked instantly. We were of the same descent, really close in age, but he was knowledgeable in real estate. He'd done a few deals, a few flips. And he was like, "Well, what do you want to spend on houses?" So I told him. He's like, "That's a lot of money. Where'd you get it?" So I told him. And he said he had you sell a house for what? Where? Because it was in South Philly, which is really prominent still. And this was years ago, but still was really good. So he's like, "You could have sold that house for $300,000 or $400,000, or you could have kept the house and pulled the equity out, fixed it up, rented it out." Like, he just giving me terms and he just throwing it all at me at once. And I'm like, did I do the right thing? Like, I'm in my head like, wow, it's the cutthroat for sale by owner, is it a house right here? Can you afford it? You buy it? It's that kind of thing, like straight to the point, just a little different.
Right.
And he was giving it to me raw, all at once, like in a conversation just like me and you were having. And I was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
where's the rest? You said 300,000. That's $250,000 of a difference. So where's the rest of my money? So at that point, I didn't get discouraged at all. I was upset. I won't lie, really upset. But I didn't get discouraged. What I decided to do was use that to fuel my fire of, okay, you didn't know that. Don't ever be in a situation where you don't know something like that again. So I
Right.
jumped headfirst into it. I started to learn. He was a close mentor of mine because he is where I purchased my first few properties. But I also went to real estate school because remember, up until that point, I thought that an agent and an investor, I'm going to be honest, I didn't think an investor existed. But at that time, with my money, I was an investor.
Right.
Not by choice, just because that's what I said I wanted to do with my money, buy more property. So when I went to real estate school, I learned the terminologies, and I decided that splitting the commission with the broker, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Like, I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to buy and sell other people's houses. I wasn't really interested in that. No, because I had a really
Mm-hmm.
good start. My cushion was there. So what he said was, what do you want to do? I said, well, I don't want to go back to work, so I need some income producing properties. So he introduced me to the term like turnkey, which is a
Mm-hmm.
property that you purchase that's pretty much ready to go right away. And it was kind of like a godsend because I had came to him at a time where he needed somebody like me. He had
Mm-hmm.
properties and he was stuck in the middle of a flip, but he had ran out of money. And here I come as the bank, like I got a lot of money. So
Private
what he
investor.
was telling me, private investor. So he
Mm-hmm.
sold me one property with the tenant already in it. He had a mortgage on it. The mortgage was $300 a month, but the lady was paying $1,000 a month. So the $7 was positive cash flow. He like, here, put your name on the deed. We just so that was like a subject too.
Right.
Now I know what a subject to is, but at the time it was like, oh, I get a tenant, and you said out of this 1,000, just make sure the 300 goes to the people. We good then. Did
Right.
that. He sold me a shell, which he had purchased for 2,500. He tried to sell it to me for 12, but I was negotiating, and I think that he really liked my spirit. I'm gonna be honest, because he was like, yeah, I ain't gonna get you. So he gave it to me for 65. So then that was
Mm-hmm.
my first shell, in which I was supposed to do a full rehab on, and then I still ended up investing in that project at like a 30% return on my investment just to get him through the deal, which was another South Philly property. So all he was missing was a little more capital. Once I gave him that capital, I was in that flip with him for maybe 6 months, and he gave me back my money. So I made $50,000 off of that, which was good.
So you had this jump start thanks to a blessing from your grandmother, and
Yes.
you made the decision, even though, you were kind of taken advantage of by the realtor by selling the property for
Yeah.
way less than you could have, but
Yeah.
you took that lesson and you flipped it and you learned to be a real estate investor. You learned to have income properties. You learned, you went to real estate school. Trust me, I did real estate full time for 6, almost 7 years. I understand it's not easy.
Yeah.
You you made the initiative to do all these things, and now you're helping other
Mhm.
people across other
Yeah.
states to learn to do the same.
Yes.
That's
Because
beautiful.
ironically, it's just weird for me because a lot of the decisions I made was just off of the need to survive.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand, like, so I was doing a really good job and I had help, but when you're working for someone else, you can never really reach your full potential because jobs are designed for you to do what you are needed to do in that
Mm-hmm.
position. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real room for growth. I'm the type of person that I can't have a cap on me. I just I have so much to give. I will run the whole shop right. Like, listen, like where's the manager because we need to be doing the shifts this way. When we're doing returns, you need to have an incentive. So make sure that these hours are done at this time. Like I just always had that mindset. I told you I was a leader, so it was
Mm-hmm.
always hard for me to work under anything or anybody. And what really is my gift, because even now as a consultant it's like the only reason why my service is so popular is not because it's real estate. Real estate is black and white. The only thing
Mm-hmm.
that changes is the numbers based on the market. It's because I have the ability to look at an issue in which people think is like large and I can simplify it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what I do. So it started off accidentally. I literally just needed properties to supplement the income that I was making at ShopRite. And then once I started buying houses, you understand that once they're rented, there's nothing else for you to do except
Right,
collect your rent.
exactly.
Like, that's it.
Because your
So
tenant's
then
paying the mortgage. Yeah.
that's it. So it's like, okay, all right, we got a feel for how this thing works. Got this. So
Mm-hmm.
we can just keep buying houses as you build capital. But people would see me grow and they saw the difference in me. They're like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on? Well, I want to do real estate too. How does this and that work? Giving them little advice about their different situations. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, I jumped in doing a bunch of different things. Flipping. I did that flip with the guy. Subject to just stuff that I didn't really know what the terms were, but I was pretty thorough in the process because I've done it. And I survived it. So the first thing that happened, it was a couple, and they had like this property in which they wanted to fix it up. It was a married couple. The wife, it was her father. He needed it fixed. They didn't have the capital. The dad wanted to sell it to them, and I was like, no, that's his daughter. Do a dollar deed transfer. Pull the equity out, right? That's exactly what I didn't do, but you pull the equity out. Give him his money from, what you pull out, and then use the rest to fix it up. They do it. They called me in 2 weeks, and they have $70,000. And they're like, thank you. I'm like, you're welcome, right? That's it.
Right.
I get another situation very similar. It wasn't of a family member. Listen, I want to buy a house, and I have credit, and I don't know what to do. And I'm just taking on my knowledge that I'm learning because I'm living it, and I'm giving it away, right? And with this specific person, I don't remember the outcome, but I remember it was golden because it was like, I just have to give you a gift. So I'm assuming what they made was a lot of money. Then I did it again one more time with a lady, and I told her to pull a home equity line of credit out on her property. And I remember her getting $200,000. And she was like, oh, my gosh, what do you want? I'll buy you anything. And I was like, okay. It was just like that. So after a while, I'm like, no, you're really good at this. And what really changed the dynamics is one day the guy that was my mentor, his girlfriend, she was like, we can go to an auction.
Like foreclosures?
So when she said auction, yep, it's like tax delinquent or mortgage foreclosure. So she said auction. I was like, yeah, that's the place I always wanted to go. And she had this full strategy. Like, she would look up all the houses. Mind you, it's about 1,000 houses a month. Still to this day, because every month since then I've been doing it for like the last 5 years. But she had this strategy. All the houses, these are the numbers, this is what it's worth. Don't bid past this, blah, blah, blah. It's really intimidating. It's going to be a group of guys in there. It's different guys because we had different groups of people from different ethnic backgrounds. So you had like the Jewish guys, the Asian guys, just a bunch of different people, and they were all sticking together. She was like, it's going to be intimidating, but don't be discouraged. She giving me pep talk. I remember we walked in there, and I bid the first couple times by her list. She was like, no, don't bid. Sit down. It was the next one. I was like, no. And I kept going. I ended up being the second bidder on the property. The first person couldn't pay it off. I got that one property for $1,700.
Wow. And
it was crazy because when I got it for $17, I didn't even have to pay for it. I only had to give him $600, and I had 45 days to give him the rest. So I'm like, when I was at ShopRite, I did have $1,700. I had saved my money to buy a car at ShopRite, so I was really good at managing money even back then. Well, $1,700. I got a bag full of money right now. Like, understand that I was in that auction ready to risk it all, and they like $1,700. You're the winner. I'm like, something's off. I did it again. Maybe 3-4 properties. Like, I couldn't. I was like borderline addicted. But at that time, that's what changed everything for me because I'm like, yo, it's so many people out here who are feeling like they need a lot of money or credit. And I was just going in that process in itself. They didn't ask me for my credit. They didn't require anything from me except $600 and me signing my name on a piece of paper with a money order. Like, that was it. When it was time to pay the property off, they needed my ID saying that I was who I am. And that was it. 10 minutes, I own the property for $1,700 in full. I'm not taking on anybody's back debt or anything. I can come out and sell that $1,700 property for $30,000 if I wanted to. But now it took for me to have money to realize I didn't need it. So then I was like, all right, so the next person that come to me, I'm going to tell them about this. And I did. So that's when my $600 property strategy for the last 5 years, it has been life-changing for so many people. I had people like cry in the hallway because all your life, can you think about how many times you spent $600 on them?
Exactly.
And now you have, and there's one or two ways, like you can get that property and have it, and you're now like the first homeowner in your whole family, or you sell it and you have more money at once than you've ever had.
In
like,
your entire
it's just
life.
so fulfilling to me. Your whole entire life, and then there's no cap on it. You can do it as many times as you want. And it's not about credentials. It's nobody denying you, telling you what you can't do or you're not good enough or you can't afford it. That humiliation, all of that stuff is gone. It's not a mortgage where they want your left arm, your right arm, 5 bank statements. Some people don't have bank accounts. You have to understand that's a real life coming from where I grew up. It's not uncommon for a person to not have paperwork. Now, in the other side, because it's like the same world, but it's 2 different sides. So on one side, people are like, how are you surviving without credentials and paperwork? But then you have families who don't even have these conversations at all. They tell you don't use the bank. Banks are bad. No, you don't use credit, you're gonna go in debt. Or the only time they get credit is if it's for like cable bills, and then your mom put it in your name, so you started off with bad credit, even though you
Mhm.
never was old enough to have, that
Mhm.
kind of thing. And God gave me an opportunity to just change all of that. That whole mindset, just change it. And I'm not going to tell you how, I'm going to show you how. And that makes a world of a difference for somebody.
It makes a huge difference. We had, I think it was episode 44, I had a woman by the name of Leah Sergakis, and we were speaking of when somebody close to you passes
Hmm.
away, somebody that you're really, really close with. In your case, your grandmother. In her case, it was her grandfather. In my case, it was my grandmother and my sister in the same year. And life completely changes for you, completely.
Hmm.
And if you pay attention to the blessings, and if you honor that person that passed, the ceiling comes off. The amount of
Hmm.
blessings and the amount of doors that open. Like, I'm getting
Hmm.
goosebumps as I'm saying this right now because I'm finding this same thing in common with everyone who shares that story with me of, how they lost somebody and how their life completely changed and how doors just started to fly open for them. And you're not just using that to better just yourself. You're using that to empower other people in the community, to empower people that, like you said, have never understood credit or bank accounts, and now they now own property. Like, you are changing lives, and it's going to be such a ripple effect of what you're doing. And the reason why I was so excited to have you on is how young you are to even understand that. You have such a head start, and you have all of the energy and the passion behind you. So when I hear numbers like that, you've helped almost 1,000 people to date to own and purchase
Yeah.
property. Like, there are people, uh, me as an example, when I sold real estate full time for 6 to 7 years, I helped a lot of people, but your numbers are beyond impressive. And what I
Thank
love is
you.
it's not just Pennsylvania that you're focused on. You've serviced
No.
people in over 15 states. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Like,
Atlanta, Nashville, Tennessee, Miami, just North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. It's weird. I had a person from like
hmm
the Bahamas one day contact me, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not quite there yet, but give me a second."
hmm
She's like, "Well, I've been following you for a while. I know you'll be here soon." I was like, "Okay," because like I said, real estate is black and white, and it's just my job to change your mind about what's
hmm
within your reach and what's not. Because you have to understand, it's only numbers. And it
hmm
doesn't even matter how big the number is. Every number can be reached. It's money. Like I was
hmm
listening to a guy on an interview. He's a rapper, I believe. He said he was sitting down the day he became a millionaire. He had gotten a wire for 700 and something thousand, and 5 minutes later he got another wire for 600,000. I believe it was for like a show or an album or the record label, whatever. But he said
hmm
within 10 minutes he became a millionaire, and the only thing
mm
changed in that 10 minutes was numbers. And he
Right.
said that makes it really humbling to walk into a room and understand everybody is 10 minutes away from being rich or broke. Because
Yeah.
that's the truth. And
Yeah.
then he had said he doesn't treat people bad because he could be really mean, and then you could leave out and hit the lottery for 150 million. And then what does he say? Like, hi,
Mm. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But that's how I feel. So, like now when I have clients, weirdest thing, I say, what's your short term goal? Because that's what I do with Rosebuds. Rosebuds Investments is named after my grandmother because her name is Rose.
Mm.
So I'll ask them questions. Four. It's nothing serious. It's really weird. I know when a call starts out, they're like, oh, God. It's like, hey, what's your short term goal? What's your long term goal? What's your cash and what's your
hmm
credit? And then the other question is, what's stopping you? Right? And they like, oh,
hmm
my God, what did I just pay for? But the first few things that they say is important because it's always really similar. And I talk to all different people from all over. Some people, they say, like, I want to make 5,000 a month. And I tell them, nah, I'm
hmm
not going to help you with that. That's too small. They're like, too
hmm
small? I'm like, yeah. They're like, all right, maybe 7,000. I'm like, okay, right? I laugh it off, and I tell them, look, remember, it's nothing too big or too small for me, but I want you to
hmm
think bigger. So they're like, yeah, I think I'm gonna need about 8 houses, and they just talking to me. So I'm like, okay, great. I can tell you how to make $12,000 with 2 properties. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, you get a triplex. That's 3 units. Rent each floor out for 2,000. If you do one building with that strategy, that's 6,000 a month. You do it
hmm
twice, that's 12,000 a month. But you only wanted six, so just send me the other six, and then we laugh it off. That takes the weight off of the conversation. But they're like, I never thought of it like that. Of course you didn't. Because even with
hmm
a single family, you get a variance. You can turn a single family into a triplex because now it's just about zoning. So it's just the things that they don't know. And I'm
Right.
like coming with the chisel, and it's like, which is why I really love being a mom, because it's easier to mold a child than it is to chisel an adult. I'm telling you,
Of
my
course. Yeah,
kids,
because adults are
sky's the
stuck in their
limit.
ways. Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, My kids is walking out, I was like, you want to buy this? It's kind of small, Mom. Well, where are they going to put the toys, Mom? I'm like, listen, everybody don't have toy rooms, kid. Like, they're going to live here. Leave me alone. But you'll have a grown up, and they'll limit themselves just because of what they're used to seeing and what they have been put around. And I'm the one that's like, listen, I grew up with drop ceilings in my house. I got the children a 12-foot Christmas tree. It was real. It took 4 guys to cut it down. You can do anything. And it wasn't a matter of decades. It was a matter of like 4 years.
Right.
4 years.
So what advice would you give to a woman who's considering investing right now?
Do it, because you are your greatest investment. And there's nothing worse than laying in the bed, tossing and turning about the possibility of what could have happened. At least if you try it and it doesn't work, you know it didn't work.
Exactly.
But then you also know why it didn't work. And then you also know what you can change moving forward to have it work. Because it's like 50-50 with everything in life. See, the upside is that we're going to die anyway. Like, that's the thing. We think nobody's making it out of this place alive. So,
I agree with you.
Keeping that in mind, it's like, okay, it's 50-50. Now, you're rolling the same dice anyway. But if you roll it correctly, you're going to win something or you're going to learn something. And that's how our journey is. Like, you got to think, this whole, I'm a millionaire about 3 or 4 times over now. I started that by losing that $250.
Right.
Now, I could have been the one that's like, oh, real estate is not for me. I didn't know that. I feel stupid. How did I only get $150? Like, I could have really took that a whole different way. I know people who would have taken it a whole different way. You already know people feel like real estate is full of scams. It's already this stigma around it. But I didn't. I looked at it a different way, and then I took a different course and direction. So with people, it's like, don't accept failure as an option. Just make everything a lesson for yourself. Because the other dice that you'll roll is, I'll go to work, do the same job that I've always done, and just be miserable. Or I'll do nothing.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's like I'll do nothing. But as you're doing nothing, the sun is going up and coming down. Every single day. It'll be another day. It'll be another year. It'll be another birthday. It'll be another holiday. So it's like, yo, what do you really have to lose? If you've already been doing the same thing for multiple years, or if you're young, because it's like either way, I get clients who are much older than me, and I give them a sense of hope. Because it's like, well, you're still alive, and you've been alive for a while, and look what living up to this point has gotten you.
Right.
But then, in order to, you got to ease the Band-Aid off before you snatch it. It's like, but everything that you have that has gotten you to this point is all that you really need to get you to the next level, because that's the real thing. Surviving is hard. It takes so much more to be broke. I don't think people understand it.
I agree with you. I've been on both sides. I agree with you. I agree.
I remember moving here where I live now. It's a nice gated community, big house, 6,000 square feet homes. It's crazy, right? And you would think that your water bill, your gas bill, and electric bill will put you in the poorhouse. We have solar panels. We don't pay a gas bill because we have propane tanks on the side of the house. You pay $700. It lasts for about 8 months. Now, in the winter time, you might get 4 to 6 months. It really depends. The solar panels, your electric bill is probably like $200 every few months, though. It's not every month. The water bill gets crazy depending on how much water you're using. But I'm just thinking about living in Philly. Those PGW bills was like you're getting a shut-off notice every 3 months. And it's in the high hundreds. It's like, yeah, you owe them $700. Oh, it's $1,200. I remember that. So what you mean to tell me is the bigger the house, the lower the cost? This got to be wrong. Okay, now, even down to the school district, it's like being in poverty, your mindset is stuck because you're so stuck in survival mode that you don't know what you're actually doing to survive. Once you take a step outside of that and you watch how much it takes a person to survive in certain circumstances and conditions, you're like, yo, you a superhero, bro. Just imagine if you lessen the load just a little bit. Come over here. Get that same energy and drive and bring it over. And that's why I dominate over here.
But what inspires you the most about what you do?
Being a mom. Still. Because I just think about every other mom. Because I'm not big on running the same race twice. Like, if I can get all the way there and pass you the baton, I'm all for it. So just seeing those moms that felt like they had nothing to give to their children. Seeing those families. Just being able to start something different, because we say like Black Lives Matter and we talk a lot about breaking generational curses and just different things. I'm really into women. Like I just love strong women because I feel like we are the pillar of everything. Now we need men. It's a great balance. It's a good support. But like use a car for an example. The men are the engine, big, souped up. They're ready to go, but they have no idea where they're going. Like man, my husband can't hear me. I'm hiding in the basement. Say something. He ready. Okay, tank is full, nice V6, and it's and he's like, where to? I'm like, hello? Right? So it's us. And while it is a really good balance, we need each other. But it's women that hold it together. The nurturers, the supporters,
Yes.
the analysts, that strategic thing, the pat on the back when it doesn't go right. That cheer at her right when it does go right. So I'm an advocate for women. And one of the things that I like is that my job is not women empowerment. Because I go to a lot of seminars and they have me speak, and it's everybody on there motivating them, telling them what they could do and all of that. I hate it. Because once you go home, you're like, I could do it, but it's not done. I'm still sad.
You
You
need
got shut off
action.
bill as soon as you leave. So with me, it's like, okay, I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to show you this process. And I think the best way to empower a woman and to uplift the household is to give her ownership, because that's real power. So that's why I love what I do. It's just so crazy because you just think about it. Everything comes from woman. Now, we originally came from man, but then everything else comes from women, like that creation, the birth that we have. And just with my company,
Everything that
it came from a
reproduces
long,
comes from a woman.
yeah. And it's like, even with the company, it came from my grandma. And I came from her having my dad. So it's like just all of that, and then everything I have after that just like, reverts back to the original beginning. And it's like, she had no idea, because it wasn't like I waited forever after she died to sell it. It literally was like 10, 11 months, because I stuck out for a while. I was feeling kind of guilty. She asked me not to sell the property, but I remember something so vividly when she said, "This is all we have." And I just, for a second, want to just be like, Grandma, look, that's not all we have anymore. Like that one house you wanted me to rotate between family members, I have a house for every last one of them, if they really need it.
Right.
Look, Grandma, they don't even need it. Like,
Right.
it's so elating to just think about the journey in itself. But I really, really, really love what I do.
I have like goosebumps right now as you're saying that. Woo. Okay. So, I mean, you've spoken to how, you've been able to be mentored, and you now mentor so many others in that same way because you realize the importance of mentorship. So I want you, if you could think of what you would say the benefit of mentorship has been.
It's been life-changing because it's easier to learn from a mistake that you see, because you can get the lesson a little quicker than if you actually are living through it. So if I step in poop and I say, hey, look, I just stepped in it, watch it, it's going to be easier for you. Instead of you trying to sniff out where the poop actually is. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's easier. It's just completely easier to just watch a person where you say you want to go. Because if you get around somebody who is doing exactly what you want to do, you can kind of watch what to expect without having to be in it. Because, like, once you're in a situation, you don't have much time to figure stuff out. Like, at that point, it's do or die. So you starting to make certain decisions, and you could be moving off of desperation, and you don't really have the knowledge. Whereas if you take a step back and just live vicariously through someone else, you can weigh options, the pros and cons, so you can see how they've done it. Okay, did that work for them? How would you feel if you had done it the same way? Are you comfortable with what they did? Just kind of learning how they think, even if you don't take exactly what they do. Because there's some things that I learned from my mentor because I watched him make mistakes, and I was like, oh, I'm never doing it. Never.
Right. I
So it's
love that.
definitely worth it.
I love that so much because I keep thinking how articulate you are and how people underestimate your generation. I mean, I have a daughter who's turning 22, and I hope she doesn't ever listen to this episode, but it's mind-blowing the difference in the level of perspective. And I do my best to mentor her. That's what I do for a living. I coach and mentor people on their mindset. But I guess maybe because we live in the same household, it goes, over her head. But just listening to you, and I'm seeing the value that so many women of all ages can gain from it. And I love, the idea of coaching and mentorship. And it upsets me when I read something somewhere where, people are downplaying or bashing the idea of
It makes
coaches
no
and
sense.
mentorship. It doesn't make
makes
any
no
sense to me
sense.
at all. So with everything that you've had to go through, and because you're a woman and because you're young and you're a mom and a wife and all these things, I can only imagine the amount of adversities and pushbacks that you've had to deal with. Is there any in particular that comes to mind?
I mean, it was from the very start. Even with the whole setup with the financial advisor, to me, you were underestimating the fact that I was able to manage and control my own money. Literally. It's times when I'm at the closing table with certain people, and it's just like they can't believe it until they see me come with a cashier's check and they looking at me. It just changes so fast. It's really funny because I don't talk first. I don't really like talking. Like I'm a really high I. I took the DISC assessment, so like my personality is a really high I, and then D. So I have a dominant trait. I have a really influential trait. That's when you just like the speaker, people's person. But when I'm in certain environments, I don't speak much. I'll
Mm-hmm.
just let them think whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I open my mouth, the level of power that comes out,
Right.
it's like you command attention at that point. But it's not in a cocky way, not
Right.
arrogant, not boastful at all. It's a matter of fact. It's very intelligent, and this is
Mm-hmm.
what it is. You just kind of get that. But you have it all the time. Like, I'm a young mom. I currently have 3 children, 1
Mm-hmm.
years old, 2 years old, and 5 years old. Milan is 2. She'll be 3 next week. You see
Mm-hmm.
this mom with these babies. They don't think. Matter of fact, perfect example. I was in Atlanta the other day. My husband and Milan, we took the middle child because, it can get
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
my great grandma, who I was able to retire, by the way, after this whole real estate thing
God
came
bless
to
you.
pass. Let me tell you something, because she retired 4 times prior to me doing real estate. I'm talking about she had a daycare job, a post office job. She worked at the candy factory for 30 years. I said, listen, just come over here and just babysit. Please quit all jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Please quit all jobs. So she did it. So thank God for that, because she raised me. So it's a special kind of thing. So we had left the other 2 home. We take Milan. We are leaving from the hotel to the airport. It's time to go home. And the Uber driver, she's just driving us, casual conversation. She's laughing because Milan is telling me her iPad doesn't have service, and she cannot stop laughing at a 2-year-old talking about service. It was funny. And then I had saw something on the back of her passenger side that said, do you need help monthly with bills or supplement income or something? So I said, yeah. Can you tell me more about that? Because I'm a mentor, right? So I help
Mm-hmm.
people find different ways. So the first thing I thought was, this would be good to share with the group. I want to know what she has to say. And
Mm-hmm.
she asked the first question. She said, are you guys married? So in unison, we said yes, because we are married. And then she was like, yeah, so what you guys would have to do is pretty much you sign up and you say what bills you're struggling with or something, something. And I was like, oh, no, it wouldn't be for us. So we currently do real estate. We have 1 million properties. And we're
Mm-hmm.
millionaires, by the way. Like, not saying it that way, but just in sharing the story, it came out organically. I told her. She was mind blown. Now, she didn't say much
Mm-hmm.
at that time because she had to drop us off at the airport. I gave her my card and said that I would like for her to come speak to my group because I do a weekly class every single Sunday. We do it via Zoom. And I told her I would like her to come talk about that program to my fellow mentees. So
Mm-hmm.
when I had talked to her like the next couple of days, she was like, I just completely judged you. I was just thinking y'all was just some young people with kids. I would have never thought. She's like, then I
Mm-hmm.
Googled you. And I was mind blown. And I'm like, I mean, she was so embarrassed. But I was like, oh, please, I get that all the time. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. But she's like, I just would have, you're just so humble. You're just so quiet. You just so, I was like, well, I don't think I'm supposed to run around like I'm rich. I don't require any
Right.
special attention. I'm already okay. Right? So
Right.
you don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. But yeah, that was recent. So I'll just share that. Because she told me, she's like, oh, no, I judged you. I would have never guessed. I was like, good.
I can totally
Good.
relate to that because I mean, I was definitely a young mom. I had my first at 17. I have 3 children. And although I'm turning 40, I've had many people that don't even believe I'm past 30. So
Because you look
I've
really good.
thank you.
You're
But
welcome.
I've been places where people immediately judged me, or I've been places where
Mhm.
they side eye you or whatever. And then someone
Mhm.
else will say something. And then, like you, I don't speak
Mhm.
much. I'm not a talker. And I don't have this big ego where I need to, command attention when I walk into a room. So they just assume,
Yeah.
okay, well, whatever. Who's she? She's nobody, whatever.
Mhm.
And I've had people that have either heard my name or someone in the room has said something about me or tried to edify
Yeah.
me. And people will Google me and literally come up to me and say, oh my God,
I
like
could
I
not
had
believe
no
it was
idea.
you.
Yeah, I've
Mhm.
gone to group resorts and things like that with people and hung out
Yeah.
with people for days. And on the
Yep.
last day, they'll say something like, hold on a second. And they're like, are you? And they'll bring me their phone. Like, yes, actually I am. They're like, how come you didn't
Yeah.
tell us?
Why
And it's
didn't
like,
you
well,
say
I'm
anything?
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna walk into a room and say, "Hey guys, I have like 4 published books out, and I have an
Yeah.
app, and I have a
Yeah.
podcast, and I coach people, and my mentor is a multimillionaire." Like, who does that?
creeps, creeps that don't really believe what they are. Like, that's the only type of people who need that justification. I'm laughing. I had sat in a crowd before at a seminar, and the guy goes up and he's doing this elaborate introduction. He's like, yeah, she's 25 and she's blah 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 blah. Give it up for Jamisas. So I get up, walk up, do my little speech, come and sit back down. The guy next to me was like, why wouldn't you say anything? Like, you didn't say anything. I said, well, what exactly did you want me to say to you? We are sitting together, really nice, atmosphere. I wasn't going to blow it like, I'm awesome. I think it's just so weird because it's a really thin line between being comfortable in your skin, and then just coming off snobbish. Because if you walk out with your resume on your shirt, it's weird. What are you looking
Yes.
for? What type of
Yes.
validation or praise are you really looking for in that moment? And I'm not that person.
Exactly. I've gone to
Yeah.
networking events and women will literally stick their hand out, say their name, and then say, I'm an internationally published best-selling author. And I'm
And you
like
don't
it's
want to talk to her anymore.
no.
You do not want to talk to her
If
anymore.
I was an egotistical person, I would have been like, yeah, and hey, I have 4 internationally
Yeah.
published books too. But no, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like the humility,
Yeah.
you just want to have an impact. You're not looking to
Mm-hmm.
have a big
Nah.
name or have these, I totally get you, girl. So,
Yeah, 'cause you can't block your blessings that way. I'm telling you, it's so funny. For like craps and giggles, I was in a van
mhm.
at a Tony Robbins event, and they had like a Q&A segment, and Kevin O'Leary was the keynote. So I stand up, really weird, 'cause at that point I actually wanted the people in the room to know who I was, 'cause it was day 2, and I wanted to convert clients.
Mhm.
So I got this thing where I'll ask a question. It's not really a question, it's an introduction. So I stand up, say, hi, I'm Jamisa, I'm 25 years old, and I'm a new millionaire. And my question is, since you came from humble beginnings such as I did, how do you overcome, letting go of your old family and your own background? So
Mhm.
Kevin, he said, you're 25. You a millionaire? Well, how'd you get it? Did somebody give it to you? And then people was like, oh my God, that was so disrespectful. I said, oh, no. You guys took it as disrespect. I took it as opportunity. I said,
Right.
no. I did a dollar D transfer and sold a property for 152 and I reinvested it. Now I currently have, I think it was like 17 properties at that time. He made everybody stop and clap. When I tell
Mhm.
you, you gotta see it. It's on my IGTV. Funny, you gotta see how the necks just turned. Like they wasn't paying me any mind at the time.
Mhm.
I said that the people in the room was one thing. They was
Mhm.
turning their neck. The rest of the weekend, it was congratulations on your new status. I had people Googling me. I got so many clients from that. But he was shocked himself. He said, "Did somebody give it to you?" Yeah, Kevin, because people are running around giving away $1 million. No, dude, that's not what happened. That's not what
Mm.
happened. But yeah, that was funny too. But when you're really intentional and you know what you want, you know how to get it, and it doesn't
Yeah.
take a bunch of, you know.
I love that. I love that. I love your humility. So I want to know, as a wife, as a mom, as a real estate investor, as a mentor, you have all these things that you're doing. How do you take care of Jamisa? What does your self-care routine look like?
I'll do a walk, and then I'll incorporate my walk because walking is really peaceful for me. But then I learned to incorporate work with my walk, so I will go live, which I have a chance
Mm,
to talk to my clients. I'm already walking from my home, sanity. That's my time away from the kids, so it's quiet, it's really serene. But now that's a good marketing strategy too, because you get to see my neighborhood. People are really enthused by what they see, not what you say sometimes. So
right.
that works for me. Making sure that I get a massage every so often. I like massages; they work.
Mm-hmm.
Really healthy. I do yoga. I have made it a point to have my children do yoga now too with me. It's fun
Wow.
for them. They have no idea what tree pose is, but they just like, I'm on the floor with mommy. I tried to have my husband do yoga. He's like over it. So he likes to work out. So we'll do the walking thing together, or I'll go to the gym with him because we have a
hmm
gym here, and I'll just pretend I'm working out. Just finding different things and kind of taking the box away. I do not like living in a box. So when we travel, they always try to make you feel like you have to pick. You have to pick between freedom and motherhood
hmm
and being a business owner. And I don't. Like I did a mastermind for my group. I took all 3 of my children. I got nothing but compliments. People are embarrassed because they got kids running around. Kids are not supposed to be quiet. Now they are
hmm
supposed to be respectful. My children were not the quietest, but they were like, "Excuse me, mom, can we have another popsicle?" Like they were just talking to me. I'm like, "Yeah, cool." After that, they went on, played the little game Netflix on the iPad. And it was like, "Do your kids always act like that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't train them. Like this is a real thing." But that let moms know you don't have to pick. If they there, what you take them. That'll
hmm
appeal to another mom. When we do trips, they all have passports. I don't feel like I need to leave my kids home and enjoy myself. I actually like them,
Right. And
and
you
I would be
created the
pretty
lifestyle
worried.
that you can afford to
Uh,
bring them.
yeah, and then you just get a nanny. Now, it just so happened that it's my grandma, so I trust her a whole lot. So she's not a nanny, but we bring her too. So if I feel like I need to go do an excursion without them, okay, are you guys cool here? Are you going to? Sometimes we do cruises, so the type
hmm
of trip changes based off of what we're doing. If we're taking a whole family, we'll do a cruise because everything is pretty in-house. There's not that much stress.
hmm
If I feel like I need something for me and my husband, we'll fly out really quickly to like Miami or Vegas, so we're close enough or far enough. It's just different things. I just kind of live life on my own terms.
Yeah, I
That's
love
all.
that. I love that. So I read this article in Reader's Digest and I've been using it on every episode because I'm obsessed with it. And it basically says that your favorite type of shoe says a lot about your personality. So my question to you, Jamisa, what is your favorite type of shoe? Is it a boot, a running shoe, a walking shoe, a flip-flop, a stiletto, wedge, mule, pump?
I'm gonna say Uggs. I have Ugg slippers on right now, so it's not just the boot; it's just the comfort of them, like the cushion, the diversity of an Ugg. Dress it up, dress it down. I really like Uggs, but I really like high heels too. See, it depends on the Jamisa you get. 'Cause different Jamisas, typically standard, I go for comfort. That's my thing. Ugg slippers, Uggs, that's my thing. But the other Jamisa really like shoes, and I like the pumps. I like the platform because I like high heels. Like I love pumps.
Okay,
But
so
the
let's
mommy in
go
me,
with the pumps. Let's
yeah,
say, because they're saying that pump fans are boss women.
yeah,
So
I love pumps.
you're you're a total girl boss and you know it. You're competitive, resolute, and intimidating to those who can't keep up with your pace. This is the most mature of all the shoes. It's someone who's caring, efficient, and powerful. They're usually in a leadership role, and when everything is falling down around you, everyone will turn to the pump woman and say, "What now?" And
What do
then
we do now?
you will step in and kick ass and take care of business. Does that sound like you?
That's crazy. You are spot on with these definitions. You are like, she like, nope, we're gonna leave it because this sounds like you right here. I think you're absolutely right. 100%. Because if I had it my way, I wouldn't walk around in Uggs all day anyway. So yeah,
Yeah, there you
yeah,
go. There you
100%.
go. So before we go to the final segment of questions, Jimmy, so I want you to tell people where they can stay connected with you online.
Okay, so on Instagram, I am at Rosebuds Investments. The word Rosebuds is plural and investments is plural.
Okay.
Website is www.rosebudsinvestments.com. Facebook is the same, Rosebuds Investments. You could give us a call, 267-419-ROSE, which is 7673.
Perfect. Okay. So what I will do is I'll make sure that I have the links to all of your socials where they can just click under your episode in the details and follow
Okay.
you directly. And for the final segment, I like to call it a walk in her stilettos, where you just share general answers from some reflection questions. What new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life in the last 5 years?
Being intentional. Because remember in the beginning, I said that I will overcompensate for the feelings of others. Once I started to realize that they're going to feel the way they feel anyway, and I couldn't really control that, I started to be more intentional in my direction. Like, I'm not going to do this to make this person happy. I'm going to do what needs to be done, and they'll conform or they'll walk away. And the good news for me is whatever does happen is exactly what was supposed to happen. Anyway.
Amen. Yes. Last question. What impact do you want to have on the world?
So one of my other mentors, her name is Nicole Purvey. She said she wanted world domination. And that stuck out to me because I was thinking, like, do you want to dominate the world? No, you don't really want to dominate the world. But if I can have at least 1 million, like 1 million women, or 1 million, I'll say families, because I'm really big on family. If I can have 1 million families just make the transition from the poverty mindset into the wealth mindset, having ownership, having that credit, having options, and having freedom, that's what would be ideal for me. Just 1 million families, because I know, and with doing that, I have set the tone and, planting seeds for 1 million more.
I love it. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Jamisa, for coming on and sharing your story with us. And I want people to know, here's the thing. I think you had messaged me twice on Instagram and I didn't see it because it goes into my other inbox. So I didn't see it. And I don't even know if it was like months apart when you sent those messages. But
I'm
then
consistent.
you didn't give up. You sent me an email after that to basically share your story and why it would be a great fit for my audience. When I spoke to you, I said what I loved about that is I get PR that pitches their clients to me all the time. And 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, I decline because the pitch is them trying to sell their business and to sell whatever it is that they're doing. So they're not really going to be of value to my audience because my audience is coming to hear your story, right?
Right.
They're trying to pitch themselves. They're not looking at what's best for the audience. But I loved, one, your persistence, and two, your pitch was you knew what would be of value to my audience. And I want to thank you for being persistent. And I want to thank you for personally reaching out to me to share your story, because it is so powerful and it is so inspiring that I would have kicked myself if I had seen your messages later and I had ignored them. I feel like this connection will definitely be a long-term connection, because once we're done recording, I need to speak to you individually. But I want people to really understand that you were young when you got this opportunity. You're still young now, and you are changing so many lives. You're making such a huge difference. And there are people out here who are twice or three times your age that feel like they can't do certain things, and you're opening people's eyes. And I just want to thank you for being you.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Because like I was kicking the door down. I'm like, nope. I told her that this is good. I listened to the show too. It's really organic. I was like, no, they gotta know. They got okay. So maybe y'all email her. If you didn't respond to the email, I had another email too. I would have sent it to you from there. Because I'm like, well, sometimes you're busy, so the message wasn't read. It's not like you had opened it. I'm like, nope. So send it again, because maybe you need to push yourself to the top. Like,
yeah, no, you're a smart girl.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because, and I want people to know that as well. Like, sometimes if you don't get an immediate response from somebody, especially when they're dealing with so many messages and so many different platforms and so many emails, don't take it as a no. They may not have seen it, or they may, I have emails that I've opened and I put a star beside and say, okay, I need to make time to respond back to this person, and life happens and it gets pushed to the bottom of the list. And if they don't send another follow-up email, it gets lost. So I just want to thank you.
Follow-up is key. That's the power. The power is in the follow-up. And you guys put your egos to the side. It's not all about, oh, she didn't like me. It's not that. You gotta understand that life happens for everybody. You want somebody's attention, but they still have a whole world outside of what it is that you are asking them to do for you.
Thank you so much. I swear, you're like an old soul. Thank you so much, Jamisa. I learned so much from you today, and I cannot wait till this episode airs to share it with everyone else. Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I think you'll love it.
Most definitely. And to all of you faith walkers out there, until next time, subscribe to our newsletter at awalkinmystilettos.com. And make sure you grab one of my personal development books that are available online everywhere. And if you've received value from today's show, please share it with a friend that needs to hear Jamisa's testimony. Be sure to screenshot this week's episode and tag us on Instagram at Rosebuds Investments and at The Real McKinney Smith, and continue to walk in greatness in your stilettos in a manner worthy of your calling.